actually been filled with polyurethane or something.
It is ironic. Dave's car had an oil leak. This one,
Let's talk about the suspension again, man. Oh my God.
That's right, everyone. It's time for another Sports Sedan Build-Off, this time with a bit more of a track focus. And initially, we were thinking of an E36 M3 versus an EG sedan. But in shopping for those cars, we ran into a couple of problems.
both are surprisingly expensive these days and hard to find in decent, unmolested condition.
So instead, we decided to look at the market for where the best value in sports sedans currently is, and we landed on these two, an E90 M3 and an FA5 Civic Si. I know, if you're an oldie like me, you really want to see us build an EG sedan, and believe me, we really wanted to do that E36 versus EG sedan build-off, but the deeper we went down that rabbit hole, the more we realized those builds were going to be very expensive, and we were going to get into like restoring cars again and making them too nice and not really wanting to go to the track and beat on them. So we really come back to, we think is a much more relatable position of buying cars at the bottom of their market. And these cars being, you know, like mid 2000s era cars really probably are as cheap as they're ever gonna get and really do offer great value. This is a 2008 Civic Si, even though it has an FD2 front end in Japan. And in fact, this is a legitimate FD2 exterior conversion that's ongoing on this car. We'll get into more on that in a minute, but let me tell you about the engine first. This is the original K20 Z3 or Z3 cylinder head, but it's had a K24 short block put underneath it. The results were pretty good. He got 232 wheel horsepower out of this and I think 183 pound-feet of torque with a K&N intake on it. And while he was in there, he did do some other upgrades, including upgraded the head studs, a new head gasket, he ported the oil pump. So he did all the kind of, you know, essential K-series maintenance stuff while he was in there. So even though it's a little bit dirty, it's not the prettiest looking engine bay, I think it is a really good setup. Now, that being said, this is our cheap car, and that means I have to do something about power to keep up with that E90 M3. So obviously we have something in store for that, but we're not gonna give it away just yet. In case you guys are wondering why this car looks the way it does, well, the previous owner basically felt like he'd gone too far with it. It was too hardcore, too uncomfortable for him as a street car. So he decided to let it go as is. And because of that, we did get a very good deal on it. And we lowered the price even more by not taking his wheels and tires. So we actually threw the S15 stock wheels and tires on it just for transport purposes. And of course, we are going to paint match everything so that it looks proper. No, the problem's not the holes in the trunk lid. We'll talk about those later. The problem is I've released the trunk, but it doesn't come up. And that's because whoever did the trunk lids swap damaged those torsion bars that give it that spring effect.
DP, look at this though. Oof.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah, this is under a lot of tension here too. That's not good.
I do know this because I purchased this vehicle. I was on site.
Yeah.
This is actually for the taillight swap. So you can see there was some work involved here to get that Type R taillight swap done, which is a little unsightly.
We'll make it clean. Underneath the trunk, we do have a genuine FD2 Type R rear bumper as well. And as you can see, there's a bunch of tape on there because it's badly cracked underneath there. The paint is chipped off in many places. There's a spoon sticker here because there is a spoon exhaust, and over here it's cracked quite badly too. In fact, it's damaged so much, we're not sure if it's going to be salvageable or not, but we'll figure that out as we get deeper into the build. Inside, we've got some more genuine Type R goodies, including the gauge cluster, the digital climate control, and the start button. As a matter of fact, why don't I turn on the dash here, and you can see how it's got the shift light up top, which is a Type R specific deal. And it's also got a sticker added on here by the previous owner, who I think is in Japanese kanji, but if we use Google Translate here on it, it says safe drive. So safe drive, everybody. Should also mention it has a very annoying CompuStar alarm system in it, which, like all aftermarket alarm systems, are an absolute nightmare to deal with. So we will delete that as aggressively as we can. And there's also a weird like little 3-button controller over here. And all we can think of is that it may control this like 3-port 12-volt source here. So you can like switch between 12-volt sources. I'm assuming maybe that's what it is. I've never seen anything like that before. As for the rest of the interior, it's all SI stuff, and these seats are really good. They're comfortable, they're supportive. I'm probably gonna change the driver's seat out to a racing bucket just because track focused. Actually, there was one other Mugen part, and this was in the trunk. It's a genuine Mugen steering wheel. So we will certainly fit that up. And it also came with a genuine Works Bell hub. So pretty exciting to find those kinds of treasures in the trunk. Pete obviously knew about it when he bought this car. I was, at home doing dad things while he was out car shopping. That's the story of Speed Academy for you.
DP, I feel like we're already looking at a BMW. You have a massive engine leak here.
I do.
Will mine have that?
Well, of course yours will have that, but we all knew that going into it. You don't get into a Honda expecting to find an oil leak, although they're not immune to them, but they are much easier to fix than a BMW oil leak. Where this is coming from, we don't know yet, but we'll clean this all off so that we can then, trace the drips.
It's a big one though. Look,
it is quite a bit of oil.
Here,
all the way back here.
All the way there? What?
Yeah.
What?
It's a doozy. I don't know, maybe someone just didn't tighten the oil filter. It's gonna be something simple, I'm pretty confident to say. Other things we've noticed under here, Pete actually drove it to the shop and he was complaining about a couple of things, one of which was vibrations and a lot of it. And that makes sense now that we can see this front engine mount has actually been filled with polyurethane or something.
Silicone, I think.
Somebody's like ghetto filled
Too
it.
rubbery for poly.
Yeah, you're right, it is quite rubbery. So someone silicone filled that one. This looks to be an aftermarket rear mount. And that will, of course, add NVH. If we keep going back, you can see we've got a Skunk 2 long tube 4-to-2-to-1 header, which is actually quite a nice piece. So I think that will stay on here. And it goes into a genuine spoon exhaust system.
Look at the rust though, DP. I'm not gonna find this on my BMW.
I don't see any rust. What are you talking about? This thing looks mint back here.
Look at this here. Look at these straps.
Oh, these straps, those are just, what gas tank strap system doesn't rust?
Look at this. Look at the rust.
There, a little flaky there. It's a Canadian car. It's lived some life.
My BMW's Canadian, and I guarantee you it's not gonna look like this.
It's a garage queen. This is a everyman's car. This is you're starting with what was a grocery getter, and we're gonna make it go as fast as that fancy German car back there.
Let's hope without it falling apart here.
No, it's gonna be fine. We'll clean all this up. New set of straps, probably $100 if that's tweaking your OCD PT. And as for the rest of this back here, we could descale it and paint it. Maybe we will. We'll certainly be changing out all of the control arms anyway. We'll be changing out a lot of the suspension. So while we're in there, we'll clean some of this up to make it look pretty. But we're not gonna go crazy on it because part of the appeal to me of a car like this is that you're starting with something that's a little rough around the edges, and we can go and have some fun without turning it into like this pristine car like we've done with the FD and the Supra and so many of other builds recently. Even the Type R, we made so nice that we feel kind of like guilty about going and beating it up. But I want to leave this thing a little rough around the edges so we can go and beat it up and have fun with it and not feel like we're, devaluing it or somehow gonna like ruin a valuable car. So to me, that's really the appeal of this like cheap car approach, is that you can start with something that you can really have some fun with, bang on it, and not feel guilty about it. There's been a rather ghetto fabulous mounting job done on the front bumper, including a random screw that's just in here holding, I think, the wrong mount on for the bumper. So
it's a piece of sheet metal, DP.
Oh, you're right.
That's what you've purchased.
It is a piece of sheet metal.
And this is kind of irony here, is this car has a check engine light.
It does.
When I drove it back here, I can't rev it past 3,000 RPMs.
Well, it's because it knew you were driving and that you're not really a real Honda guy, so it didn't let you want to have that much fun. But or it could be a bad crank position sensor, one of the others.
That's right. And I think before we can even take this car on the road, we're gonna have to do repairs here right now. Are we gonna have to do repairs to the Honda?
Well, we bought a cheap car
before we drive the BMW. Is that possible?
Yes, but we got a lot of upgrades, but there were some trade-offs involved that might require a little bit of wrenching. All right, we are back. It's a new day here, and overnight we cleaned everything up to see where that oil leak was coming from, and sure enough, it appears to be coming from behind the crank pulley, which means front main seal. However, having run the motor yesterday, we noticed that the crank pulley is wobbling a lot, so we're gonna pull that off anyway, and at which point it'll be relatively easy to change that seal. We're actually probably going to just drop the whole motor. That's a story for another day. However, what we did do is we also ordered a new crank position sensor. This is the old one, and I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera or not, but the pins in there looked pretty corroded. Pete did try to clean them up with a metal file. We're still throwing the check engine light, so the new one's in there now. So let's jump in the car and see if the problem's gone. Let's see if we clear this engine code or not. I guess being a manual, I gotta put the clutch in. I see what you mean by vibrations. Holy cow. It's like I'm sitting on a one of those muscle vibrator things. It's slightly erotic, if I'm honest. In the front wheel well, why don't we start off with the fact that there is a bolt-on wheel spacer here, and that is because we have genuine FT2 fenders, which are 10 mil wider per side, and so it allows you to run a pretty aggressive wheel and tire package, which this guy obviously committed to, because you can see the wheel well liners, especially in the front, are completely trashed, as are these Godspeed coilovers. They have seen some winter action, that's for sure. That's right, the moment you've all been waiting for. How much should we pay for this car? Well, Pete is a bargain hunter, and he did find a very good deal on this. We bought it for 12,000 Canadian or 9,000 US. And yes, you can find an FA5 Civic Si for less than that, but around here they are rough if they're less money than that. And this car, having all these FT2 type R parts and lots of other quality parts on it, really was excellent value. That K24 bottom end, it's got a Honda Flash Pro that I didn't mention. We think this is really, really good value, and it's going to give that E90 and M3 a run for its money, because I will have quite a bit more money to spend on it than Pete has to spend on that car, but more on that shortly.
As Dave previously mentioned, I had high hopes to buy a E36 BMW M3 sedan. I do love those vehicles. I think they're the right size, they produce the right amount of power, and of course, I thought they were in that nice sweet spot of a price range, but they've just gone astronomical. What you're looking at, for a nice one is like $20,000, and it still requires a little bit of work here and there. The paint's not great, it's higher mileage. And that's when I started looking for vehicles like this, which is a 2011 E90 BMW M3. This is a 4-liter V8 motor. It has a 7-speed DCT gearbox. And this particular car is a one-owner vehicle. It has been dealer serviced, and it has a bunch of aftermarket goodies. Behold, everybody, this is the German version of an American muscle car. This is an S65 V8 engine, 420 horsepower, revs to 8,300 RPM, and has glorious throttle bodies, ITBs for that sound. You will notice on this vehicle, we do have a Dynon intake, everybody. That is a huge score, and it also has Dynon underdrive pulleys. What it doesn't have is service for rod bearings, which this does need. But other than that, a couple other things like actuators, small little things. These things are known to be very reliable. And yes, I did just say that, and I'm going to prove that this vehicle is a reliable one. From an exterior standpoint, there's not much to talk about, as this vehicle is all stock. I'm pretty sure this vehicle has never been repainted anywhere other than what may be the front bumper. I can see that the washers for the headlights have been misplaced, so they're like off on an angle. So I'm pretty sure the front bumper has been off, but otherwise, man, this car is as stock as it comes, which I do like. An unmolested BMW is a good BMW to start with. Inside here, I have to admit, this is super plush, super nice. Everything feels high quality. I love the carbon fiber look here for the trim. This being a DCT car, you can see I actually had to lift up the little leather boot here to put this car into neutral. You can't put this car into neutral. I know, don't ask. While the car is just sitting here, you have to manually stuff a screwdriver into here to release this car if we want to push it around, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's what makes this car special too. This DCT 7-speed is actually a really nice gearbox. It does have different modes where I can amp up how crisp it shifts. This car is an EDC car, which means it has electronic dampening control, which is a good thing in the sense of it. For our roads around here, I can dial it into super soft, cruise around, go to the racetrack, dial it up to be stiffer for performance. However, the downside is if you want to go to a true coilover setup, this system has to be disabled. It is costly to get a device that disables it and then to put coilovers on it, so it is a costly expense. This chassis has 167,000 kilometers on it, and when you look at the condition of it, it is awesome. This is a fully equipped car, so it does have the iDrive. It has what is one of my favorite options, which I like to call, or the straight pipes like to call, peasant blockers, which means there are privacy mesh shades that go up all around the rear and just, block you out like you're a king in the back. And yes, it does have this annoying chime every time you put the key in. So let's just pull that out. The other thing this vehicle must have is a Dynan tune on it, because it does have the intake, the pulleys, and a full exhaust system on it. So this vehicle likely is making more than that 420 horsepower from a stock perspective. I'd like to point out this car does have 167,000 kilometers. Dave's car has 150,000 kilometers, so 15,000 less kilometers. It is 3 years newer, but behold what a German piece of metal does in terms of corrosion versus the Japanese stuff. DP, where's the corrosion?
Well, you can't see it because it's covered by all these under trays and stuff.
Maybe that's the key. No, it's because they use superior metals.
Well, and it's a lot of aluminum too.
We'll get to
this was an expensive car.
When we get to the back,
a lot of aluminum comes with that big dollar spend.
Look at this felt under tray.
Look at these scratches here. Come on, buddy.
I got something to fix that anyways, DP. We're not worried about that, but look, felt under tray.
Yeah, that's nice.
There's a ton of M logos, which means we are into the quality and performance portion of BMW. There's M logo here, M logo there. There's M logos everywhere on this car. We're not even going to do an M logo count. There are so many. And well, it is ironic. Dave's car had an oil leak. This one,
it looks dry, but there
is no oil leak. Okay, it is sweaty, as in there's a little bit of grime. No oil though. No oil leak from a BMW.
Oh, you just cursed yourself.
Have I just won the lottery here?
No.
BMW perfection?
You've just cursed yourself. It's gonna happen tomorrow.
No. And this car has the under trays. Most of these are always ripped off and apart. This one, it's actually here. I'm already winning. This is amazing. So you will notice here, for those of you that are E90 aficionados, there are no cats. So this does have a cat delete here. And this is an old Dynan midsection. So you can see it has resonators here. And that's it. So no cats. I don't love that because it is stinky. Remember your straps, DP?
Oh yeah.
Your fuel tank straps. Do you know how rusty they... Look at this.
Yeah, it is.
I could touch it with my tongue.
You could.
Oh my goodness.
This
is perfection. BMW perfection here. And truth be told, to be fair, most of these types of vehicles don't get winter driven that often. That is more of your common year-round car. This is less of that. It certainly does have small signs of rusting. There is some surface rust on some bolts here. And the diff actually is I think the most Canadian thing on this car. You can see it certainly has a little bit of rust here. Overall, the condition of this vehicle underneath is superb for the price tag that I paid for the mileage. It is unreal how clean it is underneath here. And as I said, as a bonus, I have this full Dynan exhaust system, which, probably worth $2,000 plus. The intake's probably another $1,000. So when you add all that stuff up, man, this car was a massive bargain. And now for the price. I paid $27,000 Canadian for this vehicle, which is around $19,500 US. And given the performance mods, the state of this car, I think that is a smoking deal. And I've been searching for these cars for quite a long time. These truly are a bargain right now. You can get these down into the 16s to 18s, higher mileage cars, salvage cars. These cars are at a perfect price point right now. I know some of you are worried about the BMW tax, and it might be real, but to me, this is the perfect, budget but expensive performance sports sedan that you can go to the racetrack with and then drive home, turn on the cruise control. You got the AC, you got the leather, you got the DCT DP.
You got the check engine lights.
Oh, I got that perfect. I can just hit that button there and just enjoy my soft comfort mode. It's perfection.
We'll admit I'm feeling a little dejected about how good this car is, but there's a silver lining, everyone. I found the first fatal flaw. This side trim here is coming off. And if you look underneath there's a clip that's broken off. So it's the tip of the iceberg, everyone. Beginning of the end. This is the sign. I am going to win this challenge.
Come on. Feel your seats. You feel how good that is?
It's good, Peter. It's good. I'm not gonna lie. I already said you've already won, and it's hard to disagree with myself right now because this car is spectacular for yes, it's twice the money, but at 20 grand US, I can't believe you can buy this car for 20 grand.
It's unbelievable.
Mind-blowing.
And I think this one specifically is a really good example. One owner, like older gentleman, all dealers serviced. You know, even the dining stuff was installed at the dealer. Like, this is maybe a, you know, top tier example.
Yeah.
But
for
Dave,
20 grand, like, how is that
like,
possible?
This is, look at, we're rolling over these bumps.
I know.
There's no noise.
I know.
Look, I want to firm up the suspension. Let me hit the button here. Let
Yeah.
me give you a little bit. So this is the
Slightly
next setting.
firmer.
Okay,
Yeah, it does.
firmer.
Seems a little
Now
firm.
we're going full firm.
Ooh, race car firm.
Okay. And look,
Still pretty compliant.
but it's like you can hear the clunking, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
noticeably different.
It is firmer.
Or firmer.
Yeah.
So let's go back to soft through these things here.
yeah, it quiets it down a lot.
I love the DCT gearbox because it doesn't feel like an automatic.
Mm-hmm.
It shifts like an automatic, but you know, if you're stopping and you're going, it feels like a true manual, like somebody is releasing
Someone slipping a clutch.
the clutch.
Yeah.
It is fabulous in that sense. Feel this. Right?
Yeah, you can feel it slipping the clutch for sure.
And now I'm shifting. Oh, and you know what? My shift's a little lazy. Let me hit this little button here. Let's firm that up a little bit
Now
here.
you're just rubbing it in.
Look. Oh,
Man.
that feels aggressive, doesn't it, DP?
It does. It
Oh
does feel
my
aggressive.
goodness. Let me give you a little blip on a downshift here.
You know what else feels aggressive to me, PT? Your overconfidence. That's what feels aggressive.
Oh, listen to this thing bark.
It does sound amazing. I hate how good it is.
Here, look, I'll give you a little bit of a... Oh,
It's so good. It's got a motorsports sounding engine, doesn't it? It's a pretty special engine. Oh, the blips on the downshift too. You're just rubbing it in. You're a mean person. You've brought a nuclear bomb to a knife fight.
it is weird, right? Like when you consider the price difference, like it's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy that you can purchase something like this, but I also get it. You know, for some people, $10,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? The extra spend.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this has the perception that a lot of things can go wrong.
Yes.
A replacement motor, like we're risking it right now. We're
Yeah.
driving around
Yeah.
without knowing, you know, those rod bearings, they could be on their last 2 miles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's true.
That goes, like a motor for this, a used motor is $10,000. That doesn't include install. Like this thing can double itself in value.
Or expense, yeah,
right,
yeah.
you know, right away
Yeah.
because of all the expenses of putting this stuff back together.
Yeah,
so.
that's the reality of BMW ownership, isn't it? You are rolling the dice a little bit, but man, when they're in this condition and running and driving as well as this seems to be, it's pretty special.
Listen to that bark.
Yeah. Oh wow. It's good. It boggles my mind that you can buy this for 20 grand US, but you know, the VTEC nerd in me is still really happy about
Yeah.
the FD2 or soon to be FD2. Okay. All right. That shut me up. Yeah, it's fast. It's fast.
But it's not like
it's not
it's
shockingly
quick,
fast. Yeah.
but it, you know, like it
It's not
has
like-
almost the same amount of pull as the FD2 does. Like it pulls, but this thing, it doesn't have the torque down low, right? Like this thing
it's a higher
driving around, like right
motor,
now, you know, like look at that. It doesn't have
Yeah.
that, you know, LS torque where it just
No, not at all.
throws you in the back of the seat
Yes.
and gets you going. So
It's not a lightweight car either. Like on power to weight ratio, it's probably not that much better than the Civic's power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
But
Really, the argument here is this is an amazing street car.
yes.
Right? And with a few minor mods, how good will it be as a track car
Right.
comparatively to something like a Civic where you blow a ton of money on mods?
Yeah.
Where are we going to
They're
be,
much
right?
more
It's
focused
a
on
super
performance,
interesting
yeah.
comparison. Like
It is.
I am probably as hyped as you guys are to see the outcome, to see how this plays out,
Yeah.
because this is kind
We
of
have
one
no
of those
idea.
things. Like
Yeah, we have no
don't
idea.
know. We don't know how this
Yeah.
is going to work out. I told you, DP.
NVH is happening.
I told you, I can understand why the previous owner did not like this car after the swap, because this is kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah, but he could fix it with like stock engine mounts, couldn't he?
I don't know.
We're gonna try.
We're gonna try, but like it's
It's boomy here too, like really boomy.
that is due to the engine mounts, the exhaust.
Yeah, it's a combination of vibration and the exhaust, I would say, right? Yeah, clunky suspension. I think maybe he's got blown valves or something.
No, I just think it's cheap coilovers. These are Godspeed coilovers. They're not great. You can see.
Yeah.
They definitely don't take care of the bumps. Yeah, maybe one of them in the back is blown.
It's a clunk. Yeah,
you can hear a clunk coming out of the.
There's a blown shock back there for sure.
Clutch in. We'll hear it.
Here, I'll hit this.
I don't know.
Maybe
it might be just
some stuff rattling around in the trunk.
Nah,
too.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's just crazy how loud the car is.
Actually, I wide open throttle. It's not that loud. It's interesting. I thought it'd be way more obnoxious than that.
I think it's all
NVH.
It's all NVH.
It is.
It's all NVH. That's transferring through here. We're trying to keep it tame here. We're on, who knows, I think 25-year-old tires.
Yes, you could hear some tire spin.
Yeah.
There's literally no grip at all from the front end.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the suspension again, Dan.
Okay.
Like, I feel bad. Oh my God.
That's all wheel spin.
Yeah.
It rips pretty good though.
It does. Yeah. It feels nice.
It sounds healthy. Like it
feels
strong. There's just so much NVH.
Hopefully that crank pulley doesn't come apart on us. I think that diesel.
Yeah. Like back in Connie, and the suspension is terrible.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun, PT.
Yeah.
It's giving me good.
It's probably hard for you guys to even hear us talk.
Yeah.
And this is,
in certain gears, it's unbearably loud.
This is a street car.
Yeah.
And I think to the point of, you just have to be really careful when you're building these cars. Like, for the track, I want the engine to not rock back and forth, but you do that and it just destroys any type of street compliance, which now leaves you with a car that you want a trailer.
Yep.
Like this, if we were building this as a track car only without street use, then this would be fine. Like you could just tolerate it. Like it feels good when you rip on it. So
no, it's nothing ruins streetability more than engine mounts.
Oh yeah, wow.
And trans mounts and diff mounts.
Yeah.
Fourth gear, drop down to 3,000.
Yeah.
It's like half as loud.
Yeah, and then go to sixth. See how bad it. See, there you go. Now we're there.
Yeah.
There,
Just gotta cruise around
1,500 RPM and you're good on a somewhat decent road here.
The good news is I think we can fix most of this NVH issue. Anyway, guys, that gives you a bit of a taste of how this car drives on the street. It's certainly not a refined street machine, but we do have a healthy powertrain, which we're gonna need to try to chase down that M3.
That's right.
And we're gonna need a lot more from it too. So excited to get this thing torn down, matching, and then maybe sorting out the whole power needs and suspension needs and brake needs. Well, I should start off by saying congratulations to PT for winning the Sports Sedan Challenge already by going out and buying the best sports sedan available in the world for under $30,000. You outsmarted me right away. I have no.
And ironically, I think this time around I'm going to be doing less work.
You will be doing less work.
You've got a leaky car.
It's true.
What's going on here?
That's the first time you've ever picked the easier car.
The BMW tide has turned. Things are getting good for BMW. Peak BMW.
I mean, anything could happen. The sky may fall as well, but I think I actually have a contender here, and I know it looks a lot rougher around the edges, and it is a lot cheaper, but that does mean that I have more budget to spend to try to catch up to your very fast and what will be lightly modified M3. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
I bought the expensive car, so I have very little to spend in modification to get the car to where, for example, I want it. Where Dave now has purchased a cheap car, he's got a lot more money to spend. And ultimately, we would just want to figure out, yes, which car is faster, but is it better to buy an expensive car?
Yeah.
Or is it better to buy the cheap car and put a whole bunch of money into it? Are you going to have more enjoyment out of this? The build process is one thing,
right,
but ultimately, which of these cars do you want to have in your driveway, right? From a track standpoint, from, driving on the street standpoint?
Yes.
Both. And everything, right?
Yeah, and I mean, luckily for me, this isn't the comfort build-off. This is the sports sedan, track-focused build-off, and I will readily admit, in the end, this car will not be nearly as comfortable or as refined as your BMW. So you want another one there, PT. But I do think this car has a fighting chance at the racetrack. We have a lot of experience at TMP, our local road course, and we know that these cars can be very quick around that track.
Yep.
And you know, weight matters. This is going to be a lighter car. It will make comparable power in the end, I hope, and still stay in one piece.
Let's hope.
Hondas seem to be reliable with some, you know, changes in atmospheric pressure levels. So, yeah, I'm really excited to you know, spend a bunch of money on this car to try to catch up to you. I think it's a fun goal to have. And really, I've always believed that I'm a better engineer than BMW's M division anyway, and now's my chance to prove it.
DPA,
Let's go beat up on an M with my cheap Honda.
I don't know about that. I really don't. But yeah, I'm super curious to see how this works out, because these cars are very contrasting. You would never pit these two cars against each other in a normal environment, but this one we have done so. And let the games begin. The next episode, we are going to get full right into these builds. So thank you so much for watching this one, and we will see you in the next one.